Gang, are we Gucci and live and stuff? Hey guys, I'm giving it a few more minutes and then we'll start reading the book again. You wanna say hi? Let me know who's here. Who's all here? Anyone new here? Anyone returning? This is the book story time today. I'll give it like a minute more. Who's here? Want to say hi in the chat? Love to see who's watching. And before we get started, hi! I vaguely recognize your username, I think. Have you been here before? I think you have. I don't recognize your username, though. You should subscribe. Welcome, welcome. This is the book we are reading today. We are starting at chapter 7, because this is part 4, and I've been reading roughly 2 chapters each stream. Why are you awake? Why are you awake, man? Right now it's like 9 p.m. 9 in the afternoon. this is the book that we will be reading. Um, I'll be honest, I can't read very well, especially out loud, so I will be butchering words and stuttering a lot. Um, so yeah, the other parts should be up on my channel. Um, but yeah, if you're new here, subscribe, and we'll get into the book. The book is drumroll, please. 7. Poppy and Blair told us that the state law we had that by state law we had to rest quietly for an hour after lunch, and because this was Camp Rockaway, rest hour wasn't called rest hour. It was called B flat. Get it? B flat. The 4 of us were in bed. Tony laying perfectly still on her back, her hands clasped over her chest, and she looked like a corpse, but instead she was meditating. Shuna prop, uh, propped herself on an elbow and wrote in a spiral-bound notebook. Olivia was engrossed in an issue of bass player, uh, theocracy. I was reading The Beat of My Own Drum, a memoir. My eyes just went blurry. One sec, guys. Sorry. Um, memoir by drumming great Shelley E. My parents had given it to me for my 13th birthday back in May. In reality, I was struggling to keep my eyes open. A knock came on the tent pole. Mail call, Poppy announced. Tony, Tony, I've got a couple letters for you. Olivia, one for you too. Olivia rolled her eyes as she reached out from under her mosquito netting uh, for the pink envelope. I swear my mom is such a helicopter parent. It's barely been 24 hours, and she's... Uh, sorry, guys. I'm not doing great right now with my eyes. And she must have mailed it last Friday for it to get here today. I pointed out. Worse, Olivia said, pointing at the postmark. Wednesday. It probably got here before I even packed my suitcase. At least she cares, I said. I knew it was silly to think my parents didn't care. It was only Monday. It was only Monday. For Pete's sake. For Pete's sake. But given what happened over the weekend, I kind of felt like they owed me. On the other hand, what could they have possibly written? Dear Melly, guess what we're doing this weekend? Ruining your life and sending you hundreds of miles away without another word. It was just as it was just as well they hadn't. I didn't want to think about them anyways. Shuna said, if anyone has helicopter parents, it's Tony. 2 letters already? Sheesh. Ha. Tony said glumly. Um, every summer they get the entire family to write me letters. The catch is I've got to write back to every single person. I kiss I can kiss meditation goodbye for the rest of camp. She sighed and hung over the side of her bed, digging a pad of paper and pen out of her suitcase. Dear, dear Aunt Crystal, she just dedicated before lapsing into grim silence. her pen scratching across the page. For some reason, Tony's pouting cheered me up. I lay back, smiling, and actually read a few pages of my book before Blair called that B flat was over. So what's everyone doing this afternoon? Olivia asked. I suddenly realized I'd forgotten to mention Adeline's invitation to hang out. Shuna and I were talking about practicing for a while and then going to the lake, Tony said, tossing aside her letter uh, writing. Shuna set down her pen too. After all, it wouldn't be camp without me getting a massive sunburn. I've got sunscreen if you want, I said. Oh, I've got gallons, Shuna said. But trust the redhead. The only way for me to avoid sunburn is to walk around with a blanket over my head. I think we should sign out a practice stall, Olivia said to me. This will be our only chance to play together today. Besides, it'll be fun. Just the two of us, like at home. We've got the whole afternoon, and we don't even have to worry about keeping the volume down. Just like that, I knew practice. Just like that, I knew practicing with Adeline wasn't going to happen, and neither was the lake. Olivia had used the word fun, but I couldn't tell it. Sorry. But I could tell it wasn't just fun to her. It was important. She felt bad about the band assignment snafu, and she wanted to make it up to me with some one-on-one time, even though I said I was suddenly cautious that the sweat sweat trickling down my neck, of my skin sticking to the shiny fabric of my sleeping bag. I said, "Sounds good to me." I got up and slung my stick bag over my shoulder, music folders and water bottles in hand. We hiked to the lodge to get Olivia's bass and sign out a practice stall and an amp. Uh, Pausing along the way to flip our picks at the fretboard. Um, the practice stalls in the lodge basement were tiny, not much bigger than our bathroom at home. If you One sec, I need to move so the light's better. Um, Not much bigger than our bathroom at home. If you took out the tub, it was a squeeze. The drums took up nearly the entire space. You had to have three or more people to sign up for one of the larger stalls. The floor was covered with old rugs, and the walls had ripped foam stapled all around. Even the ceiling and the back of the door, music came through the walls from other rooms, but it was muffled, just the bass. Uh, the only surface that wasn't covered was a small window facing the hallway, so whichever counselor was on uh, duty could peek in. Here we are, Olivia said. The rhythm section. Back together, and better than ever. She set up her bass, moved the music stand so we could both sort of see it, and stacked up the charts except for I Knew You Were Trouble. They were all hers, obviously. Her teacher didn't buy into the one song at a time approach. I wasn't sure what she'd said at her audition by judging But by judging the artist, she ended up with a classic rock band, uh, Led Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones, Pat Benatar, Queen. Then it was just like at home in my basement. The difference was the basement was always chilly, and in here it was hot and stuffy. But after the morning, it was such a relief playing with Olivia. Even though I didn't know the songs very well, I could count on her to keep time with me. My hands relaxed on my sticks, and instead of all my energy draining into the drums, it felt like the drums were pumping energy into me. I sat up straighter. My hair started bobbing. Olivia and I grinned at each other. Still, there came a point in when my forearms got tired. My shirt clung to me. My throat dried up, and my butt hurt. Each time Olivia said, "Let's play that again from the top," I groaned inside. My drumming high was over. All I could think of was that lake down the hill, and how Adeline was probably there by now, and Tony and Shuna messing around and cooling off. Well, I sweated to death in the lodge. Finally, I said, "Olivia, I'm out of water." "Oh, are you thirsty? I think there's a drinking fountains upstairs. Actually, I was thinking maybe we could take a break." "Sure. You want to take 5, 10? I've gotta pee anyway." I I was thinking maybe we could stop for the day. I've felt bad, but I couldn't lie. "Oh," Olivia's face dropped. "Are you sure?" "Yeah. I mean, my arms are getting kind of tired, and it's really hot in here." To my relief, Olivia shrugged and put on a smile. "You're right. You're absolutely right. Anyways, uh, we worked hard. Uh, no one can accuse us of slacking. Should we change into our suits and head to the lake?" "Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing Olivia, Mendoza." I said, "She plays bass. She reads mine. Is there anything she can't do?" She laughed, and it was all good. I'm leaving frame. Sorry, guys. Bye. Um, Under the sky, surrounded by tall evergreens, the lake uh, shone royal blue. Camp Rockaway shared the lake with a sheep farm, and I heard their distant uh, bleating. Unlike the non-ribbiting frogs, they really did seem to be saying "bah" with a bass crank. I'm. Well, I think I'm only reading one chapter today, guys. As we approached the water's edge, a sign pointed to the boathouse saying, "John Jetty." Another said, pointing to the swimming area, said, "Let it beach." Har har, Olivia said, mildly. We slipped off our shoes and socks and hung our towels on the fence. I wiggled my toes in the sand. It was soft. The swimming area was bordered by long white docks on either sides. The deep end was marked with yellow ropes connected to a blue raft. Campers splashed into the water, playing Marco Polo. Others played on the raft or lounged on the beach. A few kids were actually building sandcastles on the shore. Two lifeguards wearing red swimsuits and white t-shirts paced the docks, keeping an eye on everyone. Just looking at the water refreshed me. I I waded in. I wade in. Ah, it's cold, Olivia said, dipping a toe and pulling it right back out again. It was. I swallowed my shock, loving the way the water sucked at my ankles, then my shins as I moved deeper. The where am I? The ground was pebbly under my feet. Tiny fish uh circled my ankles, but zipped away. When I dipped my fingers in to catch one, zipped away when I dipped my fingers in to catch one. It was so different from the pool at the Y, which had so much chlorine it burned my eyes and nose. What are those things? Olivia said, backing away right into Adeline. Adeline caught her elbow and steadied her. Hey, she said, you made it. Or you two made it, I mean. She wore an orange swim cap over her braids, and her purple bikini was bone dry. She must have just arrived, too, which made me feel better about having uh, cooped up in the lodge so long. Yeah, I said, smiling back at her. You made it, too. She laughed, and I turned pink. Of course. She'd made it. Of course she'd made it. It had been her plan all along. Why did I say such insane things? Hey, Olivia said, not necessarily as enthusiastic as me, or as I was. Were you, what were you two looking at? Adeline said. Uh, a- Adeline asked. I pointed down into the water, and she leaned over to look. Oh, she said, minnows. They won't bite. Leeches, on the other hand. Olivia was alarmed. Leeches? Like bloodsuckers? Where? Sorry, was that mean? Adeline said. There aren't any leeches in here. They like really mucky water. This water doesn't exactly look clean, Olivia said. It's all brown. No, actually, the water is so clear you can see the sand. That's what's brown, Adeline explained. Look, there's your feet. Uh, it's still cold, Olivia said. She rubbed her arms. It helps if you duck in all at once, Adeline said. You have to keep moving. It's when you stop that you get cold. Come on, race me to the raft and prove it to me. Or I'll race you to the raft and I'll prove it to you. I don't think so, Olivia said. I'm going to lay out for a while. I knew Olivia's real problem wasn't the cold, the minnows, or the possibly dirty water. The real problem was, unlike me, she'd never taken swimming lessons. She'd never admit it, but she could barely doggy paddle. She tugged at my hand, steering us back towards the shore. Come on, Mel, she said. This is our time to hang out together, remember? Out at the raft, kids were jumping and diving and cannonballing, then splashing around, and then splashing around the sides to climb back up to the ladder. Others sat back, taking um, and warming up before they jumped in to cool off again. They seemed to be having the best time of anyone at the beach. It was easy to imagine myself with them, wearing my brand new swimsuit, covered in turquoise swirls. It was easy to imagine myself with Adeline. Adeline, who wanted to be my friend, even though I was shy and said stupid, obvious things. But Olivia needed me more. Next time, I said to Adeline. She shrugged. Sure, if you want. Without waiting for me to say anything else, she plunged into the water. This is a long chapter, guys. I'm running out of breath. A few seconds later, she burst back out and swam towards the raft. Olivia and I got our towels and settled onto the scalding sand. My chin propped in my hands. I watched as Adeline organized the kids on the raft into a game of follow the leader. In my mind, I leaped after them, the delicious water swallowing me up. I paddled below the surface until my lungs were empty. Then I drifted face up towards the sun. It was so tempting to join them, to join her, but I couldn't do that. Olivia Olivia was always there for me. I couldn't ditch her for some kids game, which with someone I barely knew. That night was Fireball. After dinner, everyone hiked to the amp hit heater. It was nestled in the hills with rows of log benches set in a semicircle overlooking the lake. The counselors had built a towering log cabin of wood, more like a skyscraper, really. We took our her, thank you. As we took our seats, flames began to lick out between the gapes in the logs. Smoke funneled out the top. The sun was dipping low in the sky across the lakes. Dipping low in the sky across the lake. Low enough that it was in our eyes like a spotlight. When it shone through the trees, with the firelight behind him, Damien was notching, was nothing but a shadow holding a guitar. Welcome, he shouted, to the first fireball of camp. It is. This is my personal favorite book. It's called Drumroll Please. Everyone clapped and cheered. For everyone who's new at Camp Rockaway, here's the deal. Fireball isn't about performance. It's about community. We've delved into the instrument library and hauled out pretty much every acoustic guitar, hand drum, tambourine, and kazoo in the place. Everyone is welcome to get up front to help lead a song. But I'm not here to talk to you. Let's get started with a song everyone knows, and if you don't, trust me, you will by the time you go home. Because this is a Fireball favorite. About 10 counselors joined him in the front. In addition to the guitars and percussion instruments, I saw a mandolin, a banjo, and something too small to see the counselor lift into her mouth. And I realized it was a harmonica. As they started singing, "Take Me Home, Country Roads," kids around me nodded in recognition and joined in. Um, at first, I only listened. I was flashing back to practice that morning. How I'd felt so nervous when Donna made us sing. Plus, I don't know the words very well. Plus, I was sitting next to Tony, and wow, that girl had pipes. I'd sound like a rusty hinge compared to her. Nobody needed to bear that. But I quickly realized no one would me say any, hear me anyway. The way the the way the amphitheater cupped the sound, it seemed to come from every direction at once. It was so different from the dead sound of Troll Tunga, or the practice stall. I began to I began to sing, first softly, then louder, and my chest opened. My heart swelled with the music. As the evening wore on, older campers stepped down to the front to help lead a song. Hands traded instruments. I didn't know every song, but I'm getting tired, man. Um, but I listened, and usually by the end I could join in on the chorus, or at least hum along, without even meaning to. I started patting my knees and tapping my foot in rhythm to the music. We should go down there some night, Olivia whispered. Not tonight, but the next Fire Bowl. Me on guitar, you on Djinn B. I eyed the big goblet-shaped drum handing at the hanging at the waist of one of the counselors. He thumped at the skin with his palms and slapped the rim, the drum changing pitch depending on where he hit it. I've never played a Djinn B. You could learn, she said with a shrug. There's a percussion workshop tomorrow, I said. I saw it posted on the lodge. Um, as the sun sank further, the clouds over the sunk further. The clouds over the lake began to glow bright pink. The sky at at the tree line began turning orange, yellow, and purple. I never saw such beautiful sunsets back home. There were too many buildings in the way. But eventually the colors dripped lower and lower to the horizon. The sky above was washed in purplish blue, then almost black. The fire stood out against the darkening backdrop, but even it began to sink, like the sun. The wooden tower crumbling in on itself was with the wooden tower crumbling in on itself with showers of sparks every time a chunk fell. Tiny bits of ash floated up in spirals. The songs grew quieter, slower. The campfire was nothing but a loose pile of charred wood and a few glowing embers, like blinking red eyes in the dark. Damien said, "This'll wrap up Camp Rockaway's. This'll wrap up Camp Rockaway, unplugged for tonight," and started playing one last song. But but when its final notes faded, it wasn't like the end of a school assembly where everyone exploded back into whatever random conversations they were having before they had to learn about saying no to drugs or cyberbullying. Everyone stood up and filed out of the amphitheater without talking. It was as the firebowl had cast a spell on us. It wasn't until we were all on the trail outside the counselor uh, on the trail outside that the counselors flipped on their flashlights and started calling Coraline Kingdom over here. Buddy Hollow by me. Um, but even as we hiked back to Treble Clef, the hush stayed with us. Laying in bed after lights out, I uh, sank into the hollow of my cot. The darkness cooning me. My what is that? My bunkmates were whispering. Uh, were whispering, uh, rehashing the day, but their voices soon turned into background noise as surely as the peepers and tree toads. The frogs and toads reminded me of Adeline. When I looked back at my day, uh, it wasn't band practice or the fireball or hanging out with Olivia that stood out most. It was watching Adeline swim to the raft, climbing up and diving off with a clean splash, again and again, like throwing herself he- like throwing herself headlong into the water. Uh, was the easiest thing in the world. And that is the end of the chapter, and I'm struggling to read right now, so I'm going to call it there. If there's anyone new watching, I would greatly appreciate if you subscribe to continue following along. I'm gonna try and finish the book on stream over the next few weeks and months, depending on how long it takes me to read it. But yeah, I also do fun stuff, and I think you would enjoy it, probably. Maybe. I don't know. It's free. You can change your mind later. All that stuff. Anyways, I'm getting tired, and my throat's sore from talking for 40 minutes straight. So see ya.